Hello everyone, hope you're doing well. It's time to talk about the PBV 302 build. This is a box with an ATGM on the top of it. That's pretty much all it is. And usually when it comes to these types of vehicles, I don't actually have that good of a time. But for some reason in this build, it was quite fun to play. And I put it down to one significant change that Gaijin has made that will have helped out a lot of these ATGM launchers. So, what is the PBV 302 build? It is straight up a 2.3 vehicle with access to an ATGM, which makes it an 8.7 vehicle. That is it. If you compare this thing to a vehicle that we already have in the game, which is the PBV 301, which is a lot lower in BR at 2.3, the vehicle itself as well has access to technically better survivability since it is smaller and also doesn't have a turret where one of the crew sits in order to get shot over and over and over again. The PBV 301 turret where the guy sits is a little bit lower, so it's a bit easier to deal with. And also, in terms of general survivability, they're basically the same, because the targeting speed on the gun is basically the same, and also the size is larger for the 302, but it does have more crew. So this vehicle, overall, once you take away the ATGM, is the equivalent of a 2.3 vehicle, but when it is fully spaded, once you have the slurpager around, the HVAP, you have 6mm more penetration, which shows you how insanely high they rate this missile compared to pretty much everything else. So all of the secondary statistics are terrible on this thing. The targeting speed on the 20mm is terrible. The actual 20mm itself is terrible. Very low velocity, very small magazine size, everything about it is bad. You can't really use it as an AA gun. I've only got like one kill with it, I think, and that was a BMP from the side. Everything else was with the missile. The transmission is okay, the engine is okay, but once again, it really doesn't give too much to go for. So, why is this thing at 8.7, you may ask yourself? That is a great question. But the reason why is the build. That's it. The RB56 Build 2 ATGM is a top-down ATGM. What this means is you shoot it above targets, it explodes downwards, and destroys whatever's below it. Now, this can lead to some good instances, where if you get it above a vehicle, it explodes down, destroys the turret. It negates a lot of armor that vehicles have, and you can get a ton of kills with it, which is really cool. What it also can do is it can fluff, and it can hit tracks, it can hit external modules, it can hit a bunch of things, meaning that it is very much RNG whether you actually do damage or not. And luckily you do get this ATGM stock, so you are basically at full combat capability, but since you are just based around the missile. Now, what is the change that Gaijin have made that actually makes this thing pretty competitive? The change is they actually added in an ATGM sight. So now, a lot of ATGM carriers, including the Bill, can actually activate using the ATGM sight. When I actually played the AFT-09, which is a ATGM launcher from the Chinese, one of the key things about that vehicle was you could go hull down, you could stick just the launcher above, and then you could fire on enemies and do a ton of damage with the ATGMs. The build felt very similar, where you can actually hide the hull of the vehicle, including the little turret with the guy stuck in it, and you could just peek the missile launcher out of the top of the hill and then shoot from there, since the optic is right next to the ATGM. Now, all you had to worry about in this setup was the fact that sometimes the ATGM would dip, meaning that you have to fire slightly higher. It's also wire guided, so you have to constantly remember to not get the wire stuck on things, and at the same time you can just lose lock randomly, even though it doesn't really make a lot of sense to. So the vehicle itself, you can solve the survivability issues by hiding the whole thing behind a hill and just having the ATGM stick out. Now, if the enemy doesn't see the ATGM, which is very hard to see by the way, they can't kill you. And the only way to kill this thing is if it's in the reloading process, or if somebody sees the launcher and shoots at the missile itself, and that will actually cause the missile to explode and destroy the whole of the vehicle. The problem with this, though, is there's a lot of other vehicles that if you actually did that, it wouldn't destroy the vehicle. So I think it might be bugged, meaning that you shouldn't die if the ATGM gets hit, since it's so far away from the hull of the vehicle. They might have put that in as a balancing thing, though, just so you can't kind of sit there. So you can have a really positive start to a game on a bunch of maps. Any map which has a slight hill in a given area, something like, I don't know, the Finland map, where you can sit in the center of it, somewhere like Sinai, for example, where you can hide the hull and just have the ATGM carrier or the ATGM thing out the top, you can do really well. Now, the ATGM launcher is attached to the turret, but it does have some pretty good horizontal guidance on it, plus or minus 30 degrees. So all you have to do is position the turret in a way which is near the target or near the area you're looking at, and then switch to the ATGM camera and then just use it from there. And it's very, very easy to do. But once you've used your 7 ATGMs, which can happen in very rapid succession, usually you can get actually a quick 3 or 4 kills with it, because people aren't expecting the ATGMs to come in since they can't see you. But once you've done that, you are effectively a 2-3 vehicle. And that is the problem right there. This vehicle is so reliant on its ATGMs, which, you know, they've actually improved the reload rate of, which is really nice. It's 11.5 seconds instead of longer. But once you're done with those, you really can't do anything. Like, your gun doesn't penetrate pretty much anything in the game. You do have smoke grenades, so you can at least reposition, but you need to get yourself to a cap in order to try and fix this and get some more ATGMs. Now, they have said in the future that there will be some areas where you might be able to reload your ATGMs, which aren't the caps, and this would actually help stuff like the build quite tremendously. And we might see its BR change because of it, since the Bill missile is, in my opinion, a lot better than many others. It's just a little bit more RNG, which makes it kind of annoying at points, but generally, you know, you can actually have a good time with it. The TOW2B is the other one, which you may be familiar with this top-down mechanic, but the difference between them is the Bill has a metric ton of penetration, meaning that it can fire downwards and just do a lot. So my thoughts on this vehicle: would I actually run it in my 8.7 lineup? Because 8.7 is pretty stacked for Sweden, by the way. You've got the IDSVR, the T55, the STRV 104, the IKV 91-105. If I was running like 6 or 7 slots, or maybe even more, I would bring the PBV 302, because on certain maps it is very good at locking down an area. It's one of those which is very situational and won't always work, but when it does work, you can get a pretty clean few kills. My ending stats in this were played 50 battles, 64% win rate, which was really nice. We got 93 ground kills, 4 air kills, and 33 deaths. So 3-1 KD, basically just sitting behind hills, using the ATGM camera, and hammering things. I would give it a go. It's definitely one of my better experiences I've had with these ATGM boxes, and I still wish they had some form of scouting. I still wish they had maybe artillery, something just to give them a little bit of pizzazz, but instead, at least with this one, you're pretty much combat effective when you're fully stock. As always, I hope you have a wonderful day, and I'll see you next time. I'd just like to thank GMG Smiley, CD Beans, Chieftain Mike, EMN3 Galaxy, Tulio Pontecorvo, Brendan Quinn, Carrion Crow, Gus Irenicus, Pyman, Wartinder, Teddy, Daniel Stanton, Martinez, B. Young, Ozzy Panzer, Alan Hacker, Liam Shear, Opium Prime, Lafouche, Sem, Aslan, Uncle Bean, and Derek R. for supporting the channel.